Hi everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here for day 4 of our video series, A Week of Blooms, featuring Penny Black's newest floral creative dies. And today we're going to be making 2 cards. One is a slimline card and one is a standard A2 size card featuring one creative die. So we're going to do some different sizes and some different techniques, all using the same die. I kind of kept with the same color scheme, this yellow, orange, and pink look, which I really love. And here's a look at the die that we're using today. This is 51-736 Duet, and I feel like this die is like a hidden gem kind of. It looks small and it doesn't look very complicated, but man, look at it once it's die cut. It is so beautiful. And there's lots of different ways you can position it and use it on your cards. So to start off, I'm just going to show you a quick technique using this die using only colored cardstock, not any painting or inking involved. I've cut it from the colors that I want to use. I also cut it from white heavyweight cardstock. If you've been watching all the videos this week, you'll see that I am using this technique every day. I just feel like this gives it extra dimension, a little extra oomph, and it looks really pretty on the finished card. So I've cut it from a very light sort of pistachio colored green, and then I've also cut it from some yellows and oranges, which I'm gluing onto that white cardstock. And I'm going to just trim off that section and then glue it on top here. And this is how you can get different colored blooms, stems, and leaves using your colored cardstock. And by giving it that extra dimension by putting it on the heavyweight cardstock, it really looks so pretty without any extra inking involved. Now for the background of this card, I'm using a stitched frame. This is 51-552 leaf stitched frames. I feel like the stitching on this die set really goes well with the way that the leaves look on this die itself, on the Duet die. Now I've cut this from my cardstock and then I am just putting some washi tape onto it to mask off that stitched edge. And I've done this on all the other videos for this week as well. I love this technique. I go to it all the time because I feel like it adds a lot of dimension and a nice finishing touch without a lot of bulk. I'm applying some Toffee Crunch Memento ink using an ink blending tool and a foam pad, starting off of the edge and working my way on and kind of concentrating that on the corners. You can see once I remove that washi tape how beautiful that background looks, the dimension you get without having to do any matting or layering. Now I'm going to take 2 of this Duet die cut, so I created another using that same technique and glue them down onto the card front. And I love the way that the curve of those stems, I guess you would call it, look when you line the 2 up together. It's just so pretty. There's so many different ways to use this die. It really is a great simple die. So I'm just going to add those to my inked background and then I will add a sentiment. It is that simple. And you can see there that great dimension you get by layering onto that heavyweight cardstock. So my sentiment's actually going to come from this 30-837 Possum Birthday. I just wanted something very simple. So don't forget to look through your stash of like critter stamps or whatever you have, even if it's not floral, for sentiment sometimes. I heat emboss this with white embossing powder, and then I'm just putting a little bit of picked raspberry distress ink on top just to add a bright pop of pink to this card. I had a lot of the yellows and the lighter colors in the die cut and even the tans of the background, and I just felt like a pop of color really would bring it all together. And I'm even going to put a little bit of Seedless preserves on here so that it's a little bit darker and it helps that writing really show up. So I just added that to the card and the card is finished, and I think it is so fun and so pretty just using some basic colored cardstock from my stash on that die cut. So next up though, I wanted to get out my paints and show you another way you can use the same die, this Duet. So I've cut it now from Canson 140-pound watercolor paper, and I'm just going to paint right on it. This allows me to place the color exactly where I want it to be. And so I can paint the leaves one color and the flowers another color. I'm using Distress Ink Reinkers used as watercolors. So there on the left I have a plastic palette. I've just put little drops of the reinker in there and I'm using it with my paintbrush and a little bit of water. I'll have all of the exact colors listed down in my supply list in the YouTube description box below. This also will include down in the YouTube description box below links to all of the penny black products that I am using in today's video and on these cards. So after putting some Evergreen Bough Distress ink onto this, I'm also adding a little bit of, I believe this is Forest Moss Distress ink reinker used as a watercolor, and I love the mix of those two colors together. I feel like you get kind of a pretty turquoise green color that is, I don't know, I just love that color. A personal fave of mine. And then I am going to paint the flowers. Now you can see there off to the right, I am also doing the same thing on a second die cut of this flower because I'm going to make a slimline card with these. So with this die cut, you can layer two on a smaller card, or you kind of stretch them out if you do two to fit beautifully on a slimline card. And I'm just dropping in some of my paints. I wanted it to be a little bit more saturated down at the bottom of the flower where it is attached to the stem. So I'm just kind of playing around with that, mixing some different pinks and reds. And I really love creating both of these ways. When I'm doing it just with colored cardstock, I feel like it allows my brain to just really play with the paper and assemble. I can stop and start easily and sort of work in short bursts of time or energy. And this other way with the painting, I can die cut these pieces ahead of time. Sometimes I cut multiple of one die from watercolor paper, and then I can just sit down and really slow down and enjoy the painting process. And both results I think are really beautiful, and they're great for newer paper crafter. If you're new and you're not ready to start with paints, you might just want to start with your color cardstock. Or if you're a seasoned paper crafter, either way you get really beautiful cards with them. So you can see here just playing around back and forth with the painting. I fiddle around a lot as I'm painting. If you've watched any of my other videos, you know that sometimes I just keep going and going when I probably could have stopped, but it's all fun and there's no wrong way to do it. Now I also decided, in addition to these flowers, I wanted to add some butterflies to the background. So I used our 51-731 Soaring to die cut some butterflies. This is a great set if you're looking for very simple butterflies in 4 different sizes, which I think is so useful for making cards, because sometimes I just want a tiny little butterfly, sometimes I want a bigger one, or I like the mixture of the same design of the butterfly but different sizes. So this set is really great for that. And I decided to keep with that sort of pink, yellow, orange color scheme, and here I'm using the butterflies to add the orange to the card. I put a light layer of yellow on, and then I'm just adding in some darker colors towards the center and then blending it out. A little water on my brush to sort of blend that out towards the edges. So once everything was dry, I again did cut this from some heavyweight white cardstock, and I'm going to glue my watercolored pieces on top. It's just a great way to add dimension to the card. You could also do it with foam squares, but if you've never tried this, it's kind of addicting once you do, so be warned. But it really does give it a little bit of a different look than the foam squares do, and I think it's really pretty. Now for my background, I'm using our Slimline Zigzag card, or excuse me, die cut. For my background, I'm also stamping a sentiment from Not Older, Better, that beautiful sentiment, how beautiful a day can be, down in the bottom left-hand corner there. And I just kept it white. So I didn't do any inking on the background because I feel like the dies really speak for themselves. And here you can see you can use this on a slimline card by positioning it almost as making it look like one long die going across the back, but it's really just the same die turned a different way. And I'm just adding some liquid glue here. And I love the way that looks going across that slimline card. And then finally I will add the butterflies, and I did position one to sort of hide that little seam where the two die cuts attached to each other there in the middle of the card. And the card is finished. I sure hope you enjoyed today's video and that you're enjoying this week of blooms. There are more videos to come. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also connect with Penny Black and get lots of inspiration in lots of different places like Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, as well as Instagram, our website, and our blog. And everything is linked for you down in the YouTube description box. Happy stamping!